The storm didn't wait for permission. It crashed through the forest like a living thing, tearing at branches, ripping leaves from their stems, and swallowing the world in a cold, merciless roar. And somewhere inside that storm, small, bleeding, and desperate, ran Lyra. Her steps weren't steady anymore. Every stride wobbled as though her legs weren't completely hers. The cold had begun to bite deep enough to feel personal, and the pain in her ribs throbbed with every breath, sharp and cruel. Blood warmed one side of her body, seeping through torn fabric and mixing with the icy rain until it felt like the night itself wanted to wash her away. She didn't look back. She didn't dare. She didn't need to, she could hear them behind her. Wolves. Her old pack. The same voices that once laughed when she cried. The same mouths that called her hideous before she even learned what that word meant. The forest floor was slippery, coated in mud and broken twigs. Each step sent a jolt of agony through her bones. Branches whipped across her arms, slicing thin lines into her skin as if the trees wanted to mark her too. Her breath fogged in the air in thick bursts, each one trembling with fear and exhaustion. Her heart didn't beat anymore, it pounded, hard and frantic, like it was trying to claw its way out of her chest. The shadows behind her grew bigger. Closer. Faster. They weren't just hunting her, they wanted to erase her. Erase the girl with the strange flicker under her skin. Erase the thing they feared but never understood. Erase the Omega they swore would curse the pack if she ever unlocked whatever lived inside her. The wind howled like a choir of angry ghosts, but even that couldn't drown out the memory of their voices. Hideous. 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 The word wasn't shouted anymore, it was carved into her. It lived under her skin like a second heartbeat. And tonight, running through the storm, it felt louder than ever. Her lungs burned. Her legs trembled. Her vision blurred for a split second, and that was all it took. Her foot caught a root, and she stumbled forward. She barely caught herself on her hands, sharp rocks biting into her palms. Pain flared through her ribs again, bright and electric. She hissed through clenched teeth, forcing herself back onto her feet. But as she moved, something beneath her skin moved too. A thin, shivering pulse of light, silver, soft, and dangerous, flashed beneath the surface of her arms, her neck, her spine. It danced like lightning trapped inside her body, begging to be released. She slammed a hand against the nearest tree, gasping. Not now. Not here. Not in front of them. She'd seen what happened last time that light escaped her control. She had watched wolves she cared about fall to their knees, not in awe, but in terror. She would rather die in this storm than lose control like that again. The thunder cracked overhead, so loud it shook the ground beneath her. Lyra flinched and scrambled behind a fallen tree, her body curling instinctively into itself. Her breath came fast. Too fast. The cold air scraped against her throat, and her pulse hammered against her ears. For a moment, just a brief, fragile heartbeat, she let herself hope she'd shaken them off. That maybe the forest had swallowed her tracks. That maybe the storm had drowned her scent. But then she heard it. Footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. Alpha heavy. Not the scrambling feet of the wolves who chased her. Not the snarls carried by the wind. Not the panicked rhythm of a follower. This was slow. Certain. Controlled. A predator who didn't need to rush. Her heart thudded painfully. Every part of her went still. Not a breath. Not a twitch. Even the storm seemed to hold its voice for a second, as if the night itself wanted to know what would happen next. Rain slid down her face, cold and unforgiving. Her hair clung to her cheeks, plastered by wind and fear. Her fingers dug into the wet earth until mud filled her nails. She pressed herself tighter against the fallen trunk, pretending it could make her invisible, pretending her trembling body didn't give her away. She didn't know who, or what, was approaching. But she knew one thing. If they found her like this, wounded, frozen, terrified. She wouldn't stand a chance. The footsteps drew closer, crunching through soaked leaves and broken branches. The rhythm was steady, impossible to mistake for anything less than powerful. Someone tall. Someone strong. Someone who didn't fear the storm or the darkness, or her. The air around her shifted. The scent reached her first, earth, steel, and something deep and wild, like the heart of a forest untouched by time. It wrapped around her senses, unsettling and oddly familiar, like a memory she couldn't quite grasp. Her pulse lurched. She pressed a hand over her ribs, trying to quiet her breathing, trying to silence the whimper that threatened to escape. Every instinct in her begged her to run again, but her legs refused. They were shaking too badly. The cold had sunk into her bones. The wound on her side pulsed like a warning. And the light under her skin trembled with a growing hunger. She squeezed her eyes shut, willing it to stay buried. Not now. Please, not now. The footsteps stopped. Right behind the fallen tree. Right behind her. The storm crackled overhead. Rain hit the ground like shattered glass. Her breath stalled in her chest. For one impossible second, the whole forest seemed to exhale around her. And she knew, whoever stood on the other side of that tree. They had found her. Not the wolves who hated her. Not the pack that betrayed her. Not the shadows she'd been running from. Someone bigger. Someone stronger. Someone whose presence pressed against the night like a second storm. Her fingers curled tighter into the earth. Her throat tightened. Every scar inside her began to throb. And then? Silence. The kind that means something is about to happen. The kind that means the world is holding its breath. In that quiet moment, in that suspended heartbeat between fear and fate, Lyra felt it. Her life was about to break open. Whether into darkness. Or destiny. She didn't know. Not yet. But the storm seemed to know. The forest seemed to know. And somewhere beneath her skin, the silver light began to rise again, soft at first, then brighter, like a secret waking up. Whatever waited for her behind that tree. It wasn't here to let her disappear. It had come to change everything. The silence didn't last. A low, rumbling sound rolled through the trees, too deep to be wind, too steady to be thunder. It vibrated through the roots beneath the soil and rose through Lyra's bones with a cold, unmistakable meaning. Something enormous was drawing near. The kind of presence that didn't sneak, didn't rush, didn't hide. Something that walked like the forest belonged to it. Lyra's breath hitched. Her fingers dug deeper into the mud as she lowered herself further behind the fallen trunk, trying to make her small body even smaller. Rainwater dripped from the bark above her head and slid down her back in thin, icy streams. Her heartbeat thudded so loudly she could feel it in her teeth. And then she heard it, the shift in the air that always came before a predator entered a space. The forest reacted before she could. Leaves trembled. Branches bowed. Even the storm seemed to pull back for a moment, as if acknowledging something far bigger than itself. A shadow moved through the darkness ahead of her. Not the erratic, eager movement of a wolf rushing in for a kill. Not the scattered, chaotic zigzag of pack hunters. This was slow. Purposeful. Heavy with dominance. Her lungs tightened as a massive shape emerged between two twisted pines. Black fur. Broad shoulders. Muscles packed under a coat so dark it looked like a rip in the night itself. Glowing eyes, amber, sharp, aware. The kind of wolf that didn't just rule a territory, it defined it. The black wolf paused, head lifting, nostrils flaring against the rain-drenched air. It turned slightly, its gaze slicing across the trees, across the shadows. Across her. The moment its eyes found her hiding spot, the world seemed to narrow to a single, impossible thread. Lyra froze. The wolf didn't growl. Didn't bare its teeth. Didn't stalk forward like the others had. Instead, it tilted its head, slow, calculating, almost curious. As though it could sense the fear rolling off her, but more than that, something else. Something pulsing just beneath her skin. That flicker of silver light she was trying so desperately to bury. Her chest tightened as the wolf stepped closer. One heavy paw, then another. Mud splashed beneath its weight, but the sound was swallowed instantly by the storm. Its gaze didn't break from her, not once. It moved with the type of confidence that suggested it wasn't following instinct alone. It was following something specific. Her. She wanted to crawl backward, but there was nowhere to go. The trunk behind her held her pinned. Her injury pulsed sharply, sending a painful wave through her ribs. She clenched her teeth to stop a cry from escaping. Before she could even decide whether to run, the wolf's shape shifted. Not with a gentle shimmer or a graceful blur, this was raw, elemental, bone-deep transformation. The air rippled around the creature as its body expanded and cracked, fur pulling inward, limbs contorting, the shape rearranging itself with the kind of power that made the forest itself recoil. When the last echo of the shift faded, a man stood in the wolf's place. Tall. Broad. Scarred. His skin was marked with old battles, pale lines across tanned flesh, some thin, some jagged, all earned. Rain clung to every contour of his body, sliding down muscle and shadow. His hair was black, tangled by the storm, and his jaw was set in a shape that spoke of danger and control wrapped into one. Caelan Blackthorn. She didn't know him personally. But she knew the stories. Everyone knew. The alpha who didn't bow. The alpha who didn't bleed easily. The alpha whose name the forest whispered long after he passed. And now he stood not 10 feet from her hiding spot, rain carving rivers down the hard lines of his face, eyes bright with something she couldn't decipher. He breathed once, slow, steady. Then he spoke. Lyra. I've been looking for you. Her heart lurched so violently it felt like it stopped altogether. Her fingers slipped in the mud. Her mouth went dry, as though the storm had stolen all the air from her lungs. He knew her name. Not Hideous. Not Omega. Her name. Her real name. Fear surged through her body with a force that almost knocked her back. She pressed her hand over her ribs, as if she could hide the trembling inside her chest. How did he know who she was? How long had he been following her? And what did he want with someone like her? He didn't step closer. He didn't move at all. He simply looked at her, direct, unflinching, as though he wasn't staring at a frightened, injured Omega but at someone he recognized far deeper than the surface. Someone he had been waiting to find. His face didn't soften. His expression didn't warm. But there was no hostility in his gaze either. No judgment. No disgust. Just steady, piercing awareness, like he could see everything she was trying to hide. The shame. The fear. The light beneath her skin. And still he looked. A sudden rustle burst through the trees behind him, wolves. The same ones who had been chasing her. Closing in. Their snarls cut through the storm like blades. Their footsteps shook the ground. They were close. Too close. Lyra's breath caught. Her body instinctively curled tighter into the hollow behind the trunk. She didn't want to be seen by them. Not like this. Not when her wound kept throbbing, threatening to spill silver fire she couldn't control. But before panic could consume her, Caelan moved. Not toward her. Toward them. He stepped in front of her hiding place with such certainty it jolted her. His shoulders squared, blocking the path between her and the approaching hunters. Rain clung to the scars on his back, highlighting every line of strength carved into him. His presence swallowed the space around them, turning it into a wall, thick, immovable, alive. The wolves approached the clearing, snarling. Their breaths were ragged with the thrill of the chase. But the moment they saw him standing there, their steps faltered. Caelan didn't growl. He didn't bare his teeth. He didn't speak. He simply stood. The forest recognized dominance before anything else. The hunters did too. Their growls shortened. Their ears dipped. Their tails lowered in a mix of uncertainty and instinctive submission. They weren't afraid of Lyra, not in the way they should have been, but they feared him. The storm cracked overhead, lightning slicing through the sky. The bright flash illuminated his figure like something carved out of danger and shadow. And then the world erupted. 2 wolves lunged forward, desperate, reckless, determined to get past him. Caelan moved so fast the eye could barely track it. His hand shot out, grabbing the first wolf by the scruff and slamming it into the ground with force that shook dirt loose from the tree roots. The second wolf leapt for his throat. Caelan pivoted, a fluid twist of muscle and controlled fury, and drove his elbow into its jaw with a sickening crack. The wolf collapsed, dazed, whimpering. Another attacker charged from behind. Before Lyra could even gasp, Caelan spun, caught the creature midair, and threw it aside like dead weight. Mud splashed. Bones hit earth. Silence followed. All of it happened in seconds. Brutal. Efficient. Precise. Lyra stared from behind the fallen log, breath shaking, heart pounding, mind racing with disbelief. She'd never seen anyone fight like that, not with rage, but with purpose, like each movement was calculated to protect something behind him. Her. The remaining wolves backed away, tails tucked, eyes lowered. One by one they disappeared into the storm, swallowed by the darkness they came from. The forest grew quiet again, except for the rain. Caelan didn't turn immediately. He listened first, ensuring the threat was truly gone. Only then did he shift his weight slightly, glancing back over his shoulder toward where she hid. Lyra tried to move, to stand, to run, to flee from everything too powerful for her broken body to handle, but her legs buckled beneath her. She caught herself on the roots but couldn't rise. Her breath trembled with exhaustion and confusion. She pushed herself backward instinctively, as far from him as she could. But Caelan reached her first. He didn't grab her roughly. He didn't force her still. His hand closed around her wrist with surprising gentleness, firm enough to stop her from collapsing backwards, careful enough not to aggravate her wound. His palm was warm. Warm in a storm that wanted to freeze her to death. And in a voice low enough to sound almost impossible in the chaos around them, he spoke again. "I'm not here to cage you. I'm here because you're not what they say." The words hit harder than the storm. Harder than the chase. Harder than the fear that had been clinging to her like a second skin. She lifted her eyes to his. Heavy eye contact. Fear tangled with confusion. Confusion tangled with something else, something she didn't want, didn't trust, didn't understand. Attraction. Dangerous, unwelcome, undeniable. The storm continued to rage. But between them, another storm began. They walk in silence at first, Lyra slightly ahead, Caelan a step behind, as though he's trying not to spook her, but also refusing to let her drift beyond arm's reach. The storm thins into a wet mist, but the forest still shudders with cold, and every tree they pass seems to echo another memory she never asked to remember. Lyra tries to focus on the sound of the wind, the soft crush of leaves beneath their feet, anything that isn't the tightness clawing up her throat. But the past is a living creature. It hunts her as surely as the wolves who chased her minutes ago. She doesn't want him to see it, any of it. But Caelan walks like a man who sees too much. Like a man used to noticing the wounds others pretend they don't have. She hates that. And, deep down, needs it. Her breath stumbles. A smell, a certain cold bite of pine, triggers the first flash. Her mind drags her backward. She is 13 again, small, quiet, trembling as the pack children circle her. Their eyes cruel. Their words sharper. Don't touch her. Look at her, her back is glowing again. Her mother should have drowned her when she split the air with that scream at birth. She remembers fingers grabbing at her arms, pushing her into the mud. Remembers hiding her spine beneath thick clothes, praying no one saw the fractured silver mark that pulsed whenever she was scared. Even then, it had marked her. Not as chosen. As cursed. Another flash blinds her. 16. Her first shift. She had been excited, terrified, but hopeful. Maybe the wolf inside her would finally give her a place in their world. But the moment the shift began, the entire clearing filled with light. Not gold. Not white. Silver, blinding, crackling, alive like lightning with no sky to belong to. Her bones twisted. Her howl turned into something broken, something ancient. She remembers the screams, not hers, theirs. Wolves fleeing. A child falling. Elders shouting that she was unstable, unnatural. That she was dangerous. Someone grabbed her hair. Someone slapped her. Someone dragged her away. She remembers the taste of dirt. The taste of shame. And the moment the council declared, "Lyra of the flickering mark, you are exiled until the moon decides your fate. Leave or be put down." Her breath catches now, back in the present. She walks faster, almost tripping over a root as if she can outrun the memory clawing her open. She doesn't realize her hands are shaking until Caelan speaks. "Lyra," he says quietly, her name shaped like something careful. "You're fading into your head." She stiffens. She hates how easily he reads her. "I'm fine," she mutters. But her voice is thin. Brittle. He stops walking. The air seems to pause with him. "Don't lie," Caelan says, softer this time. "Not to me." She turns to glare at him, but the glare dies halfway. Because he's looking at her the way no one ever has. Not like she's a burden. Not like she's a threat waiting to explode. He looks at her like he's trying to understand the shape of her pain. And that is more dangerous than any hunter. She crosses her arms, hugging herself, trying to keep her body from trembling. "You don't know anything about me." He steps closer, not touching her, but close enough that she can feel the warmth of him against the cold air. "I know you're hurt," he murmurs. "Not just now. From everything." She swallows hard. The truth is jagged. He shouldn't see her like this. No one should. "Stop," she whispers. "You have no right." "You're right," Caelan says gently. "I don't. But I'm not blind to what's eating you alive." They stand in the clearing like that, her shaking, him trying to give her space without stepping away. Then his tone shifts, low and deliberate. "Tell me what they did to you." Lyra's heart jolts, but she forces a laugh that sounds more like a crack. "You've heard the stories. Everyone has." "I don't want their stories," he counters. "I want the truth." She looks away quickly, because looking at him hurts more than the memories. The truth is worse. Caelan's jaw flexes, as though he's restraining something fierce. "Let me decide that." But she shakes her head. The words are heavy. Too heavy, she continues. "It glows when I'm scared. Or angry. Or shifting. I don't know why. They hated it. They hated me." Her breath shudders. "My first shift hurt people. Not on purpose. I never meant to. But the light, it exploded out of me. I didn't understand it. Still don't." Her throat tightens. "I couldn't control it. I became wrong." Caelan's eyes darken, not with disgust. With fury. Not at her, at what she survived. He takes a slow step toward her. She doesn't back away this time. "Hideous?" He repeats softly. "That's the lie they chained you with." She blinks, startled by the heat in his voice. Then he adds, barely above a whisper. "I've seen your real form, once." Lyra freezes. The forest seems to exhale around them. Even the wind pauses, as if listening. She finally turns to him fully. What did you just say? He holds her gaze, steady, unflinching, almost reverent. I saw you, Caelan says. Not the stories. Not the mark. You. Her stomach flips. Her pulse skids. No, she says, stepping back. That's impossible. You. He shakes his head once. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a dream. And if you let me, I'll tell you everything. She stares at him, heart pounding so loud she feels it in her fingertips. She doesn't trust him. She shouldn't trust him. But the way he's looking at her, like she's more than the monster they painted her to be, makes something fragile inside her lean toward him. And that terrifies her more than any shadow that ever hunted her. The narrator's voice lowers, deepening into something intimate, threading emotion through every word. Lyra doesn't know whether to run from him, or to finally let someone see the parts of her she spent her whole life burying. But Caelan looks like a man who's already seen them. And didn't turn away. And that is the beginning of a truth she has never allowed herself to believe. A truth that might break her. Or finally set her free. Caelan doesn't explain where he's taking her. He simply tilts his head toward the far edge of the forest, an area the pack never allowed anyone to approach, and says quietly, "There's something you need to see." Lyra hesitates. Her legs are still shaking. Her chest still tight. But there is something in his tone, not command, not request, just certainty. A certainty she hasn't felt in herself for years. So she follows. The forest changes as they walk. The pines grow older, taller, their trunks silvering under the faint touch of moonlight leaking through the branches. The air thickens with a strange hum, like the world is holding its breath. Lyra feels it first in her fingertips. A tingling. A pull. As though something deep beneath the ground recognizes her footsteps. She presses a hand to her chest, trying to steady herself, but her heartbeat only grows louder, sinking with the subtle vibration in the soil. Caelan, her voice shakes. What is this place? You'll see, he murmurs, his eyes never leaving the path ahead. When they break through the final ring of trees, the world shifts. The grove is a perfect circle, lit not by the moon above, but by the land itself. Soft silver light pours from etched runes carved into ancient stones arranged like a forgotten temple. Moss glows faintly beneath their feet. The air feels alive, charged, like lightning before a storm. Lyra's breath stumbles. This place isn't normal. It isn't natural. It knows. The moment she steps across the threshold, the hum in the air rises into a low, resonant tone, one that vibrates through her bones. Her mark burns, not painfully, but like recognition. The grove is reacting to her. She takes a step back on instinct, but Caelan's hand brushes the small of her back, not pushing, just grounding her, steadying her trembling breath. It's okay, he whispers. It's meant to do that. She shakes her head, her voice almost breaking. Meant to? Caelan, this place, this power, it feels like it's calling me. It is. His answer is soft, but it crashes through her like a strike of thunder. She turns to him, startled. What do you mean it is? He slowly raises a hand and points toward the largest stone slab at the far end of the grove. Carved into it is a mural, old, weathered, yet glowing with threads of silver light. A she-wolf stands tall, her body wreathed in silver flame. Wolves bow before her. Kings kneel. Ancient spirits swirl around her in reverence and fear. Lyra's heart stops. Her voice is barely a whisper. That looks like a wolf who carries the same mark you do, Caelan finishes gently. Her stomach twists. No. No, that can't, those stories are myths. Scare tales to keep pups obedient. Not myths, he murmurs. Memory. She forces herself closer to the stone, drawn by something deeper than curiosity. Her fingers hover over the glowing carvings, afraid to touch them. Caelan moves behind her, close enough that the warmth of his body contrasts with the icy silver air, yet he doesn't touch her. He waits. "Read the inscription," he says quietly. Lyra swallows, her breath fogging as she leans closer. The ancient words shimmer to life. The one with the mark. The moon's hidden daughter. She who holds the fire the gods could not tame. Her throat tightens. The mark on her back flares hot, as if answering some unseen call. "No," she whispers, stepping away. "That's not me. That can't be me." "It is," Caelan says with unshakable calm. Lyra shakes her head harder. "I'm nobody. An exile. A mistake." "That's what they told you," he interrupts, his voice low, steady, a quiet storm. "Not what you are." The grove responds as though agreeing, runes brightening, the air pulsing around her like a heartbeat not her own. She backs away until her spine hits another stone. The contact sends a jolt of silver warmth down her back, making her gasp. The grove pulses again. As if acknowledging her. As if welcoming her home. "Stop," she breathes, pressing a trembling hand to her chest. "Why is this happening? Why does it feel like it knows me?" Caelan steps into her line of sight, slowly, deliberately, so she can see the truth in his eyes. "Because your grandmother stood here long before you." Lyra freezes. Her grandmother. The woman no one spoke about. The woman erased from every record the pack kept. She whispers, barely audible, "You know about her?" "I know enough," Caelan says. "She belonged to the silver bloodline." Lyra shakes her head instantly. "No. That's impossible. The silver bloods were wiped out generations ago." "They were erased," he finishes for her. "By those who feared them." Lyra's pulse hammers against her ribs. He continues, his voice low and grim, "Your grandmother was the last surviving silverblood. She hid. Changed her name. Lived quietly. Until the mark passed to you." Lyra's breath catches. The world seems to tilt, the grove glowing brighter as though reacting to the truth spilling from his mouth. She whispers, "Why would you tell me this? Why would you think this is me?" "Because the grove isn't glowing for me," Caelan says softly. "It's glowing for you." Her chest tightens painfully. "I'm not important," she mutters, shaking her head. "I'm not chosen. I'm not some legend." But the grove pulses again. This time strong enough to make the stones vibrate beneath their feet. Light spirals upward, swirling around her in thin silver ribbons that flicker like dancing flames. Lyra's eyes widened, her voice breaking. "Caelan, what's happening?" He steps closer, his voice quiet, reverent. "It's recognizing your blood. Your heritage. Your power." "No," she whispers. "I don't want this. I don't want any of it." "Want it or not," Caelan says, "it's already part of you." The runes brighten. The air thickens with energy so old it feels sacred. Lyra drops to her knees as the mark on her spine burns, not painful, but awakening. She feels something rising inside her, something ancient, something beautiful and terrifying all at once. A pull like gravity, like moonlight dragging the ocean. The narrator's voice softens, deepening with awe. Lyra came here expecting only fear. But now the forest sings for her. The runes bow. The air bends. The grove glows brighter because she stands inside it. She is no longer running from who she is. She is beginning to remember. A truth she spent her whole life believing was impossible. Now stares at her from every stone. She is not the monster they named. She is not the curse they feared. She is the spark of a bloodline born from moonlight and fire. A lineage meant to rise. And whether she accepts it or not, Her destiny has already begun to wake. The grove doesn't get a warning. It happens the way lightning happens, sudden, merciless, without room to breathe. One moment, the ancient circle glows around Lyra like a heartbeat made of moonlight. The next, the light fractures, shattered by a violent roar tearing through the trees. Caelan reacts first. His head snaps toward the tree-line, his shoulders tensing. Every instinct in him flares, sharp and alert. Lyra feels it, the shift in the air, the crack of tension so thick it hurts to inhale. Then the forest explodes. Wolves burst into the grove in a blur of fur and teeth, rival alphas, their eyes burning with territorial fury. Behind them, council hunters slam spears into the glowing earth, runes sparking beneath their boots. And deeper still, between the shadows, creatures slither forward, eyes hollow, bodies dripping with black smoke. Shadow beasts. Things that shouldn't exist in the waking world. Lyra stumbles back, her heartbeat strangled in her throat. Caelan shifts before she can even shout his name. One moment he's standing, human and furious. The next, a massive black wolf crashes into the attackers, fangs flashing, claws tearing through pelt and armor. His roar rattles the stones, a warning, a promise, a threat all in one breath. But the attackers don't back down. They surround the grove like a tightening noose. She's here, someone shouts. The cursed Omega. The Silver Blood Witch. Lyra's stomach collapses in on itself. Not here. Not now. Not when she's just begun to breathe again. More voices join in, cruel, loud, echoing accusations she has spent her whole life trying to hide from. She'll bring fire on the packs. She's a danger to us all. Kill her before the prophecy wakes. Lyra flinches with every word, shame crashing through her like breaking glass. Caelan lunges at them, ripping through a hunter's shield, but there are too many. Wolves circle him. Spears catch his fur. Shadow beasts coil around his legs, dragging, pulling. Still, he doesn't fall. He fights like the storm has chosen him as its weapon. Every strike, every tear, every growl is a vow, you will not touch her. Yet the attackers only grow bolder. One breaks through the chaos, a councilman robed in silver, his voice ringing over the battle like a blade. He points at Lyra. There. The mark. She carries the fire. A wave of horror sweeps the grove as all eyes snap to her. Lyra's breath freezes. Silver light flickers beneath her skin, uncontrolled, frantic, exposed. Someone gasps. Someone else screams. The crowd surges. Caelan shifts back mid-fight, blood running down his arm, eyes wild. Stay behind me, he snarls. But it's too late. The councilman raises his voice, cold and merciless. Caelan Blackthorn. Choose now. Your pack. Or the monster. Lyra's heart stops. The grove falls silent. Even the shadows seem to hold their breath. Caelan stands there, chest heaving, eyes locked on hers. She sees everything in them. Rage, fear, confusion, something like devotion tangled with dread. But the world doesn't wait for him to speak. Warriors close in. Hunters raise their spears. And someone shouts the words that rip through Lyra like a claw to the spine. He stands with her, he dies with her. Something inside her breaks. Not her power. Not her fear. Her hope. Lyra staggers backward, shaking her head, voice cracking. No. Caelan, don't. Don't choose. Don't fight for me. I'm not. Her throat closes. I'm not worth a war. Lyra, his voice is raw, reaching for her. But she turns away. Because she can't bear to watch him sacrifice everything for a girl the world sees as a curse. Another spear flies. A wolf lunges. The grove erupts again. And Lyra runs. Branches whip her face as she storms through the forest, every breath a knife, every step a wound. Her eyes burn with tears she refuses to let fall. Her chest twists with a pain deeper than anything claws could carve. Behind her, Caelan roars, a sound torn from somewhere primal, somewhere shattered. But she doesn't look back. She can't. Not when the world is screaming her identity at the top of its lungs. Not when the mark on her back feels like a target painted by fate itself. Not when the grove, the one place that welcomed her, now echoes with threats and fear. She crashes through another thicket, stumbling, palms scraping against bark. Her legs shake. Her lungs burn. Still, she runs. Because if she stops, she'll remember Caelan's face when they demanded he choose. She'll remember the way his eyes softened before fear forced its way in. She'll remember that for one fragile moment, she thought she might not be alone. A broken sound escapes her. Half sob. Half growl. She wipes her face with the back of her hand, furious with herself. No more. No more leaning on alphas who end up choosing their packs over her. No more hoping someone will see past the word hideous. No more believing she is anything other than what the world has made her. Never again, she whispers into the dark forest. Her voice shakes, but her vow doesn't. I will never need another alpha. Leaves rustle behind her. She stiffens, listening, but there is no pursuit, only distant roars fading into the storm of battle. Lyra presses her forehead against a tree trunk, breathing hard. She is alone. Truly, painfully, completely. But somewhere deep in her spine, beneath the shame and the fear, the mark pulses. Not with pain. With promise. The world may have turned against her tonight. Her identity may have been dragged into the open like a sin. Her bond with Caelan may have been shattered before it fully formed. But what has awakened in her will not go quiet. The grove has spoken. Her bloodline has stirred. And the power she tried to hide now coils inside her, waiting. Not gentle. Not forgiving. Ready. Lyra lifts her head, tears drying on her cheeks, eyes hardening into something fierce and unbroken. They wanted a monster. They may just get one. The cave is barely wide enough for the two of them, its stone walls slick with mountain mist, its ceiling low as though the world itself is bowing over their fragile moment. The small fire crackles between them, no brighter than a handful of embers, but it shapes their faces in warm, trembling gold. The shadows stretch long behind them, dancing like silent witnesses. Lyra sits hunched near the wall, blanket wrapped around her shoulders, the silver mark on her spine still faintly glowing through the fabric. Her breaths are uneven, almost strained, each inhale too sharp, each exhale too desperate, as if she's fighting her own lungs for control. The recent chaos of the grove still clings to her skin like smoke. Caelan doesn't crowd her. He lowers himself to a careful seat across from her, boots scuffing softly against the stone. He places the second blanket beside her, not on her, not around her, just close enough for her to reach. A silent offering. A promise of choice. The fire snaps. Lyra flinches. Caelan's voice is gentler this time, stripped of alpha command, carrying only quiet human ache. Lyra. I didn't come to drag you back. She keeps her eyes on the flames, the orange light flickering in pupils still edged with silver. That's good, she murmurs, voice tight. Because I'm not going back. He swallows, jaw flexing. I know. Silence folds between them, thick, cold, veined with the unspoken truths they've been running from. Finally, he exhales, leaning forward, forearms resting loosely over his knees. When he speaks again, it isn't the alpha of Blackridge talking. It's a man stripped down to raw edges. My mother died because she dared to protect someone like you. Lyra's head jerks up. Caelan continues, eyes drifting to the far corner of the cave, as if seeing a memory instead of stone. She found a wolf cub outside the border, a runt, weak, eyes barely open. Everyone said it was a curse. A moon-tainted pup. The council demanded she kill it. My father begged her to obey. His voice breaks, just slightly. She lied to them. Hide the pup. Fed it. Protected it. And when they found out. He doesn't finish. He doesn't need to. The fire pops. Lyra's fingers tighten around the blanket. You must have hated them, she whispers. Caelan shakes his head slowly. I hated myself. Because I was too young to stop them. Too weak. And when she died, my father hardened into someone I didn't recognize. He said prophecy must be feared. Controlled. And that weakness must be crushed. Lyra looks down at her hands, small, trembling, scarred from battles she never chose. Is that what you think I am? A prophecy? A curse? Caelan's gaze snaps to hers, fierce. No. I think you're the only truth this world has left. The words strike her harder than claws ever could. He rises and walks to the cave entrance, where the wind curls in like a cold serpent. Outside, the mountains stretch like frozen giants, their peaks jagged beneath the dark sky. Moonlight barely touches him, but when it does, it traces the edges of his profile with silver. Lyra watches him, heart thudding with confused rhythm. He's too close, too raw, too willing to break for her. It terrifies her. After a long moment, he turns back to her. Do you know what they call me behind my back? He asks with a grim smile. The alpha born from fear. The boy who became a leader because everyone else died. He steps inside again, the firelight circling him as if claiming him from the cold. I didn't ask for this fate any more than you did, he murmurs. But I carry it. And I'm still here. Lyra's throat tightens. You don't understand what I've done. He kneels in front of her. Not towering. Not commanding. Kneeling. Softly, dangerously softly, he says. Then tell me. Let me carry it with you. Her breath trembles. She looks away, unable to withstand the weight of his sincerity. My first shift, she begins, voice shaking, wasn't a shift at all. It was an eruption. Silver light, everywhere, like fire without heat. I couldn't control it. I didn't even know what was happening. I just broke. Her hands curl into fists. It hurt people. Wolves who never even wronged me. Caelan reaches out as if to take her hand, but he stops halfway, letting his fingers hover, close enough to feel, far enough to refuse. They told me I was cursed, Lyra whispers. That I was hideous. A monster. Something the moon itself regretted creating. Her breath catches on the last word. Caelan's expression darkens. Anger flaring behind his eyes, directed at every voice that ever tried to crush her. They lied, he growls. And they did it because the truth terrifies them. Lyra forces a weak laugh. What truth? That your power doesn't come from darkness, he says. It comes from the moon. And it answers to you. The mark on her back pulses, once, sharp enough to make her inhale. Silence falls again, dense and trembling with tension. Their eyes lock across the fire, heat rising in the narrow space between them. The air thickens, tingling against her skin. He moves first, slow, deliberate, stopping inches from her cheek this time. Lyra, he breathes, voice raw, I don't want to save you. I want you to trust me enough to stay. Her pulse spikes, fear and longing tangled like twin wolves fighting in her chest. For a moment, the world narrows to the space between his fingertips and her skin. A fragile, burning thread of possibility. She leans closer, just a fraction, drawn by something she refuses to name. His eyes drop to her lips. Her breath catches. The fire pops behind them, sending sparks upward. And then, she jolts back, spine hitting the cave wall, eyes wide. I can't, she whispers. He freezes. Pain flickers across his face, gone almost instantly. Tell me why. She shakes her head, tears burning at the edges of her lashes. Because wanting you makes me dangerous. Because believing you would break me. A long beat of silence. Then Caelan gently lowers his hand. Lyra, he says quietly, you're not dangerous because you care. You're dangerous because you've been alone. He leans in, not touching her, but close enough for his voice to wrap around her like a vow. Let me change that. Her breath trembles. Why me? His answer is low, steady, devastating. Because when I look at you, I see the power that will save us all. The fire crackles once, sending a warm gust through the small cave, and in that moment, between fear and longing, destiny and denial, the world seems to hold its breath. Awaiting the choice she hasn't realized she's already made. The night the council summons them feels unnaturally still, too breathless, too expectant, as though the very air senses what is about to snap. Caelan's hand hovers protectively near Lyra's back as they approach the stone hall carved into the mountain. Torches spit weak, trembling light along the walls, unable to warm the cold gathering of elders and alphas waiting within. Lyra's heartbeat thuds in her ears, fast and hollow. She trusted Caelan enough to follow him here. Not because she felt safe, but because she wanted to believe someone in this world could finally stand beside her without flinching. She steps inside and instantly feels dozens of eyes slice across her skin. Every stare lands like a blade. The elders sit in a semicircle, their expressions carved from granite. Wolves crowd behind them, warriors, enforcers, pack representatives, all rigid with suspicion. Caelan moves to stand at her side. He promised protection. He promised the truth. But promises are fragile things. An elder with silver-threaded hair rises slowly. His gaze pins Lyra with unnerving satisfaction. We convene tonight, he announces, to address the threat hidden among us. Lyra stiffens. Caelan takes a small step forward, voice calm but firm. She is not a threat. She's the key to the prophecy we've denied for generations. Whispers ripple through the hall like hissing serpents. Another elder cuts in, tone cold as winter stone. The prophecy you cling to is incomplete, Alpha Caelan. Conveniently incomplete. He lifts a weathered scroll, ancient, brittle, ink-smudged by time but still legible enough to twist. He unfurls it with a snap. And reads. The Omega born of silver fire, shall bring ruin to the Pax, and the world shall burn beneath her spine-marked fury. The words slam into the crowd like a blow. Lyra stumbles back, breath catching. No. No, that's not what the grove showed. That's not. The hall erupts. She's cursed. She'll destroy us all. Get her out. Caelan roars above them, voices shaking the walls. Stop. The wolves freeze. He turns toward the elders, fury blazing. You're twisting it. The prophecy speaks of a savior, not a destroyer. The grove recognized her, why won't you? Because the truth doesn't matter here. Fear does. Power does. And they smell an opportunity bleeding under Lyra's skin. A figure moves in the crowd, smooth, unhurried, radiating smug confidence. Darius. Caelan's second in command. Lyra feels her stomach drop. Something about his presence chills her marrow. Darius steps forward, a mock sympathetic smile curving his lips. Perhaps, he says softly, the hall should see what she hides. Before she can react, his hand flashes out. He grabs her shoulder, jerking her toward him. Pain spikes through her back as he rips her cloak aside, exposing the glowing mark carved like a silver crescent into her spine. Gasps explode around them. Someone screams. The mark flares, violent, blinding, reacting to her fear. Her knees buckle. No, stop, don't. But fear is a spark. Panic is tinder. And betrayal is the match that lights everything. The mark ignites. Silver fire surges across her skin, erupting outward in a pulse she can't control. The shockwave blasts across the hall, sending wolves crashing into pillars, shaking dust from the ceiling. Flames, pure moonlight flames, crackle, spidering across the stone. Chaos detonates. Monster! Get her away from here. She'll kill us all. Lyra screams, stumbling backward, her own power scalding her nerves. She clamps her hands over her ears, trying to block out their voices, to block out the truth she fears she's proving. Caelan lunges toward her. Lyra, Lyra, look at me. You're okay. You're not. But Warrior sees him, arms locking around his shoulders, pinning him to the ground. He fights like a storm, snarling, teeth bared, rage tearing through him, but more wolves join the hold. The floor trembles beneath the struggle. Lyra meets his eyes across the chaos. His face is raw desperation. And beneath it, fear. It slices her deeper than any blade. She stumbles backward, tears blurring everything. You're afraid of me too. His eyes widened. No. Lyra, listen to me. But she's already running. Her body moves on instinct, magic shuddering beneath her skin, feet hammering against stone until she bursts into the open night. Cold air slams into her. Her breaths come in ragged, broken bursts. Behind her, the hall erupts with shouts, blame, terror. The heat of her own power still burns her palms. She runs harder. Inside the hall, Caelan breaks free for a second. Just long enough to shout into the night, voice cracking with something beyond grief. Lyra. Don't let them rewrite who you are. Her steps falter for a heartbeat. Just one. But heartbreak is a cruel compass, it pulls her farther away. Branches whip her face as she plunges into the forest, lungs choking on betrayal, on dread, on the realization that even Caelan couldn't stop them. Even Caelan hesitated. Even him. Even he must believe there's truth in their fear. Her power crackles beneath her skin like a storm begging to be unleashed. Her name echoes behind her in Caelan's voice, growing faint. Lyra. Lyra. But she doesn't look back. She can't look back. Because if she does, she'll break completely. And she has nothing left to shatter. The night shatters long before dawn. Screams tear across the valley, raw, terrified, desperate. The ritual grounds, once a place of moonlit peace and whispered prayers, are now drowned in fire and shadow. Wolves sprint in panicked circles. Children cry out for parents already swallowed by darkness. Warriors clash with forms that don't move like wolves, don't bleed like wolves, creatures shaped from living shadow, birthed from the forbidden well beneath the council grounds. Caelan fights until his arms shake and his lungs burn. Every strike feels slower than the last. Blood trickles down his jaw. He shifts midair, claws sinking into a shadow beast's throat, forcing it down, but two more crash into him. His body slams into the stone altar with a crack that echoes like bone splitting. He forces himself up again. And again. Because he promised he wouldn't let them die. Not tonight. Not like this. But the truth hits him like a sledgehammer. He is losing. Wolves fall around him. Villagers scatter. The air reeks of smoke and fear. The moon hides behind storm clouds as if it is afraid to watch what the world is becoming. A child screams his name. Caelan turns sharply, too late. A shadow beast lunges toward the little girl, jaws wide. He runs. But he will not reach her in time. He knows it. He feels the helplessness lance through him so sharply it's almost a prayer. Moon, help us, someone, please. The ground trembles. Everything stops. A pulse ripples through the battlefield, soundless, yet thunderous. The air thickens, glowing with particles of silver light drifting like embers. The shadows recoil as though burned. Every wolf, every warrior, every child, looks toward the smoke-covered ridge. Someone is walking out of it. Someone glowing with the brightness of a star cracking open. Caelan's breath jolts in his chest. Lyra. But not the Lyra who fled the council, heartbroken and afraid. Not the Lyra who hid beneath cloaks and shame and whispered lies. This Lyra moves with slow, deliberate steps, as if she carries the weight of something ancient across her shoulders. Smoke parts around her as though it recognizes her. Light spills from every inch of her skin, rising in shimmering waves. Her spine, once the mark of her curse, burns like forged silver, blazing through the back of her torn tunic. The ground trembles beneath her feet, responding to her presence. And then her wolf surfaces. It doesn't burst out, it unfolds. Silver flames stream from her back, unfurling like ethereal wings. Not feathers, light, pure and blinding, shaped into something both wolf and celestial. Her eyes glow with the core of the moon itself, focused, sharp, utterly unafraid. Her voice speaks, layered, echoing with the strength of every ancestor in her bloodline. Enough. The shadow beast inches from the little girl, freezes mid-lunge, its body trembling. With a flick of Lyra's hand, silver fire wraps around it, dissolving it into smoke. Caelan collapses to his knees, not in defeat, but because something inside him recognizes what stands before him. Not a monster. Not a curse. A being born of moonfire. The prophecy's true form. He bows his head without meaning to, his chest aching, reverence and awe swallowing his breath. Lyra. She steps onto the ritual grounds, every flame rising higher. Her wolf shape flickers behind her, massive and luminous, mirroring her exact movements like a guardian made of light. The ground vibrates, stone splitting in thin cracks beneath her feet as she approaches the center of the battlefield. The real villain emerges, a man cloaked in shadow, the traitor who twisted the prophecy, who fed darkness beneath the council to seize power. His name is lost to fear now, he is simply a horror wearing a wolf's outline. He smirks, until Lyra looks at him. Her gaze is not human. Not wolf. Not mortal. He falters. Why, you were never meant to awaken, he snarls, voice cracking. Your blood should have died out. You are the moon's curse, nothing more. Lyra stops before him. Silver fire coils around her arms, winding like living serpents of moonlight. Her wings stretch wider, illuminating the battlefield so brightly wolves shield their eyes. Her voice carries across the valley, weaving through every cry, every fear, every heartbeat. I am not your curse. The traitor's shadows shrink back. Lyra's steps echo like thunder rolling through the earth. I am not your weapon. The ground glows under her. Her power rises, steady, controlled, no longer shaped by fear, but by understanding. I am not your sacrifice. She lifts her palm. Waves of silver fire explode outward, circling Caelan, circling the villagers, sealing them inside a dome of protection. The flames pulse with her heartbeat, shielding the innocent while exposing every shadow creature in the open. Her final words strike the battlefield with the force of a star igniting. I am your reckoning. The valley erupts. Shadow and light collide with a crack that splits the air. Shadow beasts shriek, their forms dissolving as Lyra's power washes over them. She moves with fluid brilliance, every strike a burst of moonfire, every breath a command to the very elements. The traitor lunges, consumed by anger. Lyra's silver wings flare. She spins, unleashing a column of pure celestial fire that slams into him, tearing the shadows apart and revealing the trembling wolf underneath. He tries to flee. Lyra doesn't chase him. She raises a single hand and the moonlight obeys. It spears downward, pinning him to the earth with radiant chains. He screams, not from pain, but from the terror of facing what he tried to destroy. Lyra steps closer, the air humming around her like a living song. Your fear is the only monster here. And with a gentle movement, she releases a final surge of power, not to kill him, but to strip him of the shadow he once nurtured. He collapses, whimpering, defeated by the very truth he tried to hide. The battle ends in a heartbeat. Silence spreads. But not empty silence, awed, trembling, reverent silence. Lyra's flames dim slowly, wings dissolving back into her skin, leaving a soft glow instead of blinding fire. She turns toward the wolves she once ran from, those who called her monster, hideous, cursed. None of them stand tall now. They kneel. Even Caelan, strong, stubborn Caelan, bows his head, not because he must, but because he chooses to. Because he saw her as she truly is, and now the entire world sees it too. Lyra breathes, steady and grounded. For the first time in her life, her voice carries no fear, but certainty. I am done running. And the night, no longer afraid, seems to kneel with everyone else. The battlefield is quiet now, but the silence isn't peaceful. It's heavy, almost sacred, hanging in the smoky air like a question that refuses an answer. Wolves and villagers alike watch her from the edges of the clearing, faces pale, breaths caught in throats, hearts still hammering from the chaos. Even the moon seems to lean closer, silver light tracing the curves of her form, highlighting the silver glow still faintly flickering along her spine. Lyra stands alone. Her wings of light have folded back into nothing more than whispers of power across her shoulders. The silver fire still dances faintly under her skin, like embers of a storm that refuses to die. Her chest rises and falls slowly, deliberately, as though every heartbeat is a vow to herself, and the world. That she will never again let it define her. She lifts her head, eyes scanning the faces of those who tried to bind her, those who tried to fear her, those who nearly broke her heart. For a heartbeat, she doesn't speak. The wind carries the faint crackle of distant flames, and somewhere far away, a wolf howls, mourning and celebrating all at once. Then her voice cuts softly through the quiet. Not loud. Not demanding. But inevitable. Would you have feared me, or fought beside me? The words hang, resonating across the valley. They're not just questions, they're mirrors. Reflections of choice and courage. Whispers of loyalty and doubt. Who among them could see the power she truly carried without flinching? Who could step forward and choose her light over their own fear? Her gaze shifts to the mountains beyond, where shadows still linger and secrets cling to the rocks. Is she a threat, or a savior born too bright for this world? The words tremble on her lips, both fragile and unshakable, a challenge and an invitation. Every wolf who hears it feels it in their bones. Every human who witnesses it feels it in their chest. Because it is not just a question of power, it is a question of allegiance, of vision, of who they are in the face of something they cannot deny. Lyra's fingers twitch slightly, silver fire flickering at her fingertips. She doesn't reach for anyone, doesn't command anyone. But the aura of her presence bends the air, drawing the attention of hearts and souls, even the faintest, most hidden ones, toward her. Her eyes, luminous and unyielding, sweep over the audience now, and though none can hear her thoughts, they feel the pulse of her certainty. She survived their betrayal. She mastered the fire they feared. She reclaimed herself from the shadows of doubt and exile. And yet, there is still more to come. The world has not fully seen her strength. Her destiny is far from complete. Her voice softens further, a whisper meant not just for the characters around her, but for anyone listening, anyone who has ever felt unseen or underestimated. If Lyra's fire awakens something in you. Her words are slower now, deliberate, each one carrying weight, each one echoing in the heart like a heartbeat. Subscribe to Olivia Werewolf Tales. A pause. Breath. And then the promise, soft but unshakable. Where every story cuts deep, burns bright, and leaves its mark. She lifts her head to the moon, silver light catching her hair, tracing the curve of her cheek. Her eyes glimmer with reflection and quiet defiance. The battle may be over, but the choices, her choices, the world's choices, the hearts of those who would follow or fear her, still hang suspended, like stars waiting to fall or shine. Lyra steps forward, faint glow pulsing with every heartbeat. She does not walk toward anyone, yet the energy around her draws attention like gravity. She is both beacon and storm, a paradox of mercy and wrath, of light that can save or consume. And if you had the chance, her voice rises slightly, lyrical and haunting, if you could stand with me, would you? The question lingers, unanswered. The wind shifts, carrying it across valleys and mountains, across forests and villages. It leaves a space in the chest of every listener. A question only they can answer for themselves. Silver fire flickers briefly along her spine once more, then fades into a gentle, steady glow, like a heartbeat at rest after a storm. The forest, the mountains, the distant howl of a wolf, they all seem to hold their breath in the aftermath. The world is quiet, trembling, waiting. Waiting for the next choice. Waiting for the next fire to rise. And in that silence, Lyra becomes more than a girl. More than an Omega. More than the Hideous they called her. She is awakened. She is power reclaimed. She is the reckoning and the hope, a living, breathing spark of destiny that refuses to be ignored. And the echo of her words, the invitation, the challenge, the question, fades only slightly, leaving a mark on the heart of every listener. Will you choose her side, or turn away? The night swells, carrying the pulse of possibility. The moonlight glints off the edges of the mountains. A lone wolf lifts its head and howls. Somewhere, hidden, destiny watches. Lyra's glow remains faint but unmistakable, a promise of fire, a promise of change, a promise of what is yet to come. The screen could fade here, but the energy lingers, the emotion lingers, the choice remains. And the story, like her power, refuses to end. Lyra walks beside Caelan, the forest around them hushed but not at peace. The smoke from the battle has begun to curl upward, thin and ghost-like, carrying whispers of fear, awe, and the faint tang of silver fire. Her steps are measured, deliberate, each footfall pressing into the soft, charred earth, yet leaving behind a sense of power that seems to pulse in rhythm with the world itself. Caelan matches her pace, silent, side by side, his presence a tether, a steady heartbeat in the quiet that stretches between them. The moon peeks through broken clouds, silver shards spilling across the forest floor, painting their shadows long and jagged, yet dignified. Lyra's faint glow pulses with every step, a reminder that her power is no longer something she hides. She is light, she is fire, a pulse that is older than memory, something lurking, awake, and aware. Lyra senses it first, a prickling along her spine, a whisper through the hair at the nape of her neck. She slows, eyes narrowing, silver light flaring briefly. Caelan notices, reaches for her hand, not to restrain, but to anchor, to remind her she does not face the shadows alone. A distant sound rolls through the trees, a low, guttural murmur, almost a voice carried on the wind. It threads through the branches, weaving with the rustling leaves, wrapping around their ears. She is not the only one. The whisper comes from everywhere and nowhere, curling through the mist, pressing against her mind with the weight of inevitability. Lyra's chest tightens. Her silver flames flare subtly, small yet defiant, as if sensing the unseen danger, acknowledging it, and warning it that she is ready. Caelan tightens his grip ever so slightly on her hand, his voice low, a rumble against the distant threat. Stay close. Trust what you've become, but be ready. Lyra swallows. Her mind races, not with fear, but calculation. She feels the pulse of power stirring beyond the forest, ancient and deliberate, watching. A pair of eyes glints from the shadows. Twin orbs of molten gold, glowing faintly at first, then with intent. They are older than the oldest tree, sharper than any wolf she's faced. Hungry. Patient. Observing. Waiting. The forest holds its breath. Even the wolves that remain in the distance fall silent. The whispers of the wind seem to hush themselves, as if afraid to disturb what watches. Lyra's pulse quickens, a thrill and a warning rolled into one. She can feel it in her bones, in the hum of her wings of light folded tight beneath her skin, in the quiet ache of silver fire coiling like a serpent waiting for release. This presence. It is not like the shadows they fought tonight. It is deliberate, intelligent, ancient. It has been waiting, and now, sensing the awakening of one of its own kind, or perhaps, one far greater, it stirs. Caelan notices her shift in stance, the subtle tension in her shoulders. He whispers softly, protective yet reverent. They've been watching. They always watch. But you, Lyra, you're no ordinary target. She doesn't answer. Her eyes narrow toward the darkness, pupils flaring silver in the moonlight. A low growl vibrates in her chest, not threatening Caelan, not even the humans or wolves around, but aimed at the thing that dares linger unseen. A branch snaps far ahead. Nothing visible moves. Yet the feeling of being watched intensifies, like eyes crawling over her soul, testing her, measuring, weighing the power she just claimed. She steps forward, each motion confident, deliberate, a queen among the ruins, a warrior awakened, yet aware the battle is far from over. The golden eyes blink once. Then twice. Their gaze pierces the night. And a whisper, colder and sharper this time, brushes her mind, brushing against her power. Your fire is only the beginning. Lyra stiffens. Her silver light flares brighter, coiling in subtle waves over her skin. Her spine marks pulses in response. This is no mere threat. This is an ancient force, patient, cunning, calculating. It has waited centuries for the awakening of one like her. One powerful enough to alter balance, yet young, untested, capable of mistakes. Caelan glances toward the golden gaze, sensing what she does. His jaw tightens, muscles coiling like a spring. He steps slightly forward, placing himself a fraction closer, his presence a shield, not just of flesh, but of steadfast loyalty, understanding the danger now fully. The war they fought tonight is only a spark of what looms. Lyra exhales, slow, controlled, letting the silver glow dim just slightly so it doesn't give her position completely away, but enough to radiate warning. She raises her chin, eyes sharp, reflecting the faint glint of those unseen watchers. They'll come, she murmurs, almost to herself. A statement, not a question. Not fear. No hesitation. Only the truth. Caelan's voice is quiet, almost intimate, yet firm. And we'll face them. Together. The golden eyes blink once more, then retreat into deeper shadows, vanishing like molten stars swallowed by the night. The forest exhales around them, but the tension lingers, like static in the air before lightning strikes. The earth beneath them rumbles softly, almost in recognition, almost in warning. Something is awakening. Something ancient. Something that will challenge every skill, every power, every choice Lyra has yet learned to command. She steps forward, silver mark glowing faintly in rhythm with her heartbeat, wings of light tucked beneath her skin, ready for the storms that will come. Caelan walks beside her, silent, vigilant, reverent. For a heartbeat, the forest is theirs. Then the wind shifts, whispering through the leaves once more. She is not the only one. And from the darkness, deep within the forest, the faint glint of eyes opens again, older, sharper, hungrier. Watching. Waiting. Lyra's pulse tightens, her chest lifts, her silver fire stirs. She does not falter. She does not run. She is ready. And in that moment, the world knows, this is far from over. The night waits. The ancient stirs. The reckoning has begun, and Lyra, the Omega they once called Hideous, is no longer alone, and no longer afraid. The forest hums, the earth trembles, and the story whispers across time. This isn't over. A pause. A breath. A promise that the next chapter will ignite worlds, test alliances, and reveal powers no one yet comprehends. Lyra and Caelan continue into the shadows, their silhouettes silver-lit under the moon, hearts pounding, senses sharpened, destiny calling. Behind them, the unseen eyes close slightly, but never sleep. And somewhere, deep, something stirs, hungering, patient, waiting for the moment the Omega rises again. The screen of night folds around them, carrying the echo of whispered prophecy, the hum of silver fire, and the unbroken thread of destiny stretching into a future that only Lyra can shape. The forest waits. The mountains wait. And the audience, hearts pounding, feels it too, that what has begun will